on
Okay.
LWOP, L funds, and L beneficiarios today on Fednobabble.
This is Fednobabble, where Kevin and Cassie make federal retirement benefits understandable for humans like you. These two don't hold back as they answer questions from the Fed Pilot workshops and webinars, or from questions submitted by you at fednobabble.com.
Okay, Cassie, as you can tell, I don't know Spanish because I don't know if El Beneficiarios is anything. I obviously just made that up. So I don't.
Were you trying to speak Spanish?
Trying to pretend to. You know what? Let's just skip that ever happened and go on to the first question. Okay, here we go.
All right. Are most aspects of retirement not affected by being in an LWOP status for a year? Are most aspects of retirement not affected by being in LWOP status for a year?
The way I take this is, the way I take this, I think, is your TSP affected by you going on leave without pay? And the answer is not really, except you're not going to be
you're not making
contributing. Right. You're not making contributions during that time. So, but I guess I was thinking afterwards, and there's no match. So yeah, so I guess yes, because I was just strictly thinking in retirement, is there an effect? No, there really isn't, but actually there is, because you're not contributing to it while you're on LWOP. So I guess that's true.
And depending on how long you're in LWOP, there could be pieces of service missing, right? So if you're on LWOP for a year,
right,
and it's a whole, January to December kind of year, then you're going to miss out on 6 months of service.
Right.
So that you might have to work for another 6 months.
Right. That affects eligibility. It also affects the calculation of your pension. But for example, I can't think of right off the top of my head, does it affect, actually, I don't know this answer. Does it affect healthcare? FEHB. If you go on an extended, let's say more than 6 months of LWOP, does it affect FEHB?
Well, it can. It's not going to qualify to keep it in retirement. If you were to retire January 31st of 2022 and you're in a leave without pay status January of 2021 to December of 2021, you're going to lose out on 6 months of service, and you're going to have to pay those premiums. But you're not, if you have coverage for January of 2022 and you've had coverage for 4 years and 11 months previously before January of 2021, then technically you're still meeting the 5-year requirement for FEHB.
Right.
It could affect your high 3. It can affect, it affects most of your aspects of retirement, depending on your situation and when that service time were to be. Like if you're in a situation where my year is June of 2021 to June of 2022, then all of that service time counts. It might affect your high 3 and those certain things, but it really depends on your situation when you're looking at retirement and what the dates of the LWOP service are.
This is a great question. This is one that honestly I've never been asked before, and I've never really contemplated and dove into how does LWOP affect everything. I mean, I know some certain rules about that, for example, with the pension and eligibility and the calculation, but as a total package overall, how would that affect someone? I love that question. And you know what? This is a great example of why it's important for federal employees to be speaking with an advisor who understands federal stuff years in advance, because this is a question they could ask them, and they will have dealt with this before. They'll have seen this and say, yeah, I've dealt with, people who have gone on LWOP didn't ask me this previously. Then they retire and they go, oh, wait, you mean my LWOP 10, 20 years ago affects this and has this, and oh yeah, it does. And they could guide the person who is in their early 20s, take an LWOP for a birth of a child, or or whatever, surgery or whatever it may be, and then saying, okay, here is how you want to do it. You want to take, if you need to take a year off, you want to take 6 months in this year and 6 months in that year. That way it doesn't affect you in these areas. And then you want to do this, and it can have a whole year of eligibility difference. You can retire a year earlier by doing that. So I love this. This so far is my favorite question. I have deemed this my favorite question. I like this.
Favorite question of the day. Yay.
Yay. Yeah.
It's amazing to me. People just don't simply understand what or how the leave without pay really affects their situation. They just think, oh, I'm going to go on leave without pay, some time on the beach or whatever. But it can affect a lot if you're looking at that bigger picture. So definitely something to take a look at. And if you can plan it, for surgery or something that would say, it's going to be an extensive thing, and it's not a surprise. Maybe you can gauge it to where, okay, I'm going to have this surgery coming up, and maybe I need to push it out if it's not going to hurt you too bad, or make it to where you can, or hinder you in the long run. Then push that surgery out a couple of months or a couple weeks or whatever that looks like. But really coordinate with somebody and how that's going to affect your retirement. And that's one thing I love about our advisors is they don't just do the retirement planning for you. Like, they're going to help you. If you have any questions or concerns about your federal benefits, or your federal service or whatever, they're helping you and telling you, okay, this is what you do here. This is what you can do here. And that's, I get questions all the time. Oh, I haven't dealt with this situation in a while, or, I got this new one, because that always happens. And, how do I help this person? And, we're giving them that advice. If we don't know the answer, like we're researching it and we're figuring it out, and we're giving it back to the advisor in that black and white, whether it's from OPM or Social Security or whatever that question needs to be, or however we need to answer it. We're making sure that we're getting the information back to the advisor from the horse's mouth. Like, we're not, oh, this article says, no. Right. We will go and find out, like, where did they get that source from and where was that information? Because employees need to know exactly how it pertains to them and what the rules are today. Because as we know, these things change all the time.
Yes, they do. Oh, so. Yeah. In fact, I was just thinking about how something just recently changed at the beginning of this year, and with TSP, and most people don't know that, even though the TSP Modernization Act happened a year and a half ago, something just changed because of it. So you're right. Yep. It's important to stay up on changes like that. Okay, good. Let's go to the next one. Let's see.
Does it make sense when a life cycle fund is reached, such as LC 2020, and one is still working instead of retiring in 2020? Does it make sense to leave TSP as is or switch the LC to another option? So here's the thing. Go ahead, Kevin. Sorry.
No. Go ahead. Go for it. No, I was just gonna say, with L funds, with the life cycle funds, I mentioned in the workshops, it is a set it and forget it strategy, right? You put it in, you don't touch it, and they do all the mixing for you. A lot of people don't realize that. They think there's the GFC, SNI, and the L. Nope. The L is the mix of the G, F, C, S, and I, but the TSP is doing the mixing for you. So,
right.
And every quarter it changes. The mix changes, and it's on a set regimen to happen, and it happens the same for everyone. And it's like a pre-programmed program that just does what it does. There is no variation in it. So when someone says, when I get to the end of the life cycle, the 2020, I'm in the life cycle fund 2020. Should I go to the 2025 because it's in 5-year increments now? Should I go to that one, or should I go to a different one, or should I go to the L fund, which is the most conservative?
The L income fund.
Yeah, the L income fund.
Yeah.
It really depends. What do you want your allocation to be? I mean, that's really what it comes down to. I mean, the L funds by title make no sense. It doesn't matter. It has no relevance to your TSP at all, because each of those, all they represent is a continuing change of allocation, and that's it. So where do you want to be?
Yep.
So that's kind of why I stumble on that one.
Yeah, the L 2020, because it changes every quarter, has changed into the L income fund.
Right.
Because
it's like they get dumped
all of
out.
Those percentages morph over time, and it gets to the point where, eventually in 5 years from now, the L 2025 will be the L income, and then we'll have the L 2030 and all of that, and the L 2030 will mimic the same percentages and values that the L 25 has today.
Right.
Because it changes to those different things over time. And so I really think that, sorry. I really think that somebody needs to look into the compilation of the percentages of how they want their TSP to be allocated. And what they want, I prefer not to mess with the F fund. I have no desire to be in that fund. And it's just based on my personal preference. And if you want to say, well, I want to be more risky, even if you're retiring in, 2023, you can still be in the L 2065 fund, which is the highest that it goes right now. Like, you don't have to contribute to this life cycle fund just because you're retiring on a certain date either.
Right.
You can move it because you decide to be more risky if you still want it to be diversified for you. So people don't understand kind of how this works. And so if you're confused about this at all, reach out. Let us get you in connection with somebody who can tell you exactly what those percentages should be based on your retirement goals. Like, why are you in why are you in those funds? We've talked about this on a previous episode. Like, know why you're contributing to your TSP and what different percentages there are for those 5 different funds, and because of your set goals and priorities in your own life. Right. Take hold of that retirement and make it yours, because it is.
Right. It's I kind of see it as a parent of children, as we are, right? You have a few, I have a few, and so when we start learning about parenting, we have this advice given to us, and this advice is, oh, you should do this and this, and then honestly, to tell you the truth, I kind of see like having your first child as retiring, because everything goes out the window at that point. You're like, what the heck is this? No one told me about this. I was not expecting this, right? Oh my heck, this is not what, anyways. So that's kind of how I see that. But leading up to that, you've got your L income funds, and basically what the TSP did was say, well, I'm gonna create an avatar. I'm gonna create a federal employee. And this federal employee has 1.2 children, has been saving in their TSP all this long, and has been doing this. And if they follow those rules, and if they do this perfectly, then they'll be brought along through the L funds to the end, and then everything should be perfect. But I hate to say it, no one fits that mold. Not a single person that works for the federal company fits that exact mold, but that's what they based it on. And so I personally, I will say I'm not a huge fan of the life cycle funds because I know that there's something better, and that something better is being able to ask someone, where should I be right now? Tell me, where can I take advantage of the market situation as it is and do something right now? And next year, it may be something completely different, and that's okay. But you don't have control of your money if you're in a life cycle fund. You just don't. You put it in their hands and say, I hope you do what's best for me. Good luck. Mm-hmm. That's it.
Right. They're not taking into consideration your other retirement investment accounts, if you have any, or your current financial situation, or, any of those different personal reasons that you should be maybe in a different fund or something like that. And let me be clear, guys, we are not financial planners. We should not be giving you advice on your TSP at all. We do not have recommendations for you. And this is just our own personal beliefs from what we've learned about these different things. Okay.
Right.
Because we've ran out and we've done our research on these different topics. And, Kevin teaches the Fed Pilot program, and I'm working directly with the advisors to get employees and I see the TSP statements coming in, to build those reports and things like that, to get employees their numbers and project out what that looks like in the future at retirement, right? And so we've seen kind of a bigger picture on this, and that's why we have personal opinions about certain TSP funds. Personally, I'm a spouse of a federal employee, and so that's, we're directly involved with that, and that's why I have my own personal opinion. But everybody's going to have their opinion. What works for me isn't going to work for somebody who is looking at retiring next month. There are different things that you need to take into consideration. So reach out to a financial planner or financial advisor who is versed in the federal benefits, so they understand how these indexes work and what the CS&I funds and G fund and F fund are, so they can tell you which fund to be in. It's that simple. And they can do, okay, you got this 401k over here and you're on this option, then you need to do this in your TSP. They're going to take into consideration the bigger picture and be able to guide you and give you advice there. So.
Yep. Thank you. Thank you. Whew, sometimes I get heated in that, but you're right. And I'm to build on what you said, I'm going to go back on what I said. I would say I'm not going to hide it. I'm not a fan of it. That's just me. However, you're right. Mm-hmm. Do not take that as advice that you should, well, I'm not a fan either. No, go figure out if you're a fan, because I'm a fan of the University of Oregon football because I graduated from there. Other people are not fans of U of O at all. Well, that's okay. Go figure out if you're a fan of a certain strategy or whatever. So anyways, that's that. Okay, let's go for the last question. Should I fill this is a yes or no question, Cassie. Should I fill out beneficiary forms for TSP?
Absolutely. Yeah. Do it.
Done deal.
You know what? You don't even have to fill out a form. You can go on tsp.gov and you can fill out that information.
There you go. Yeah. This is not subject to debate. Yeah.
Nope.
No, this is not an opinion. This is not advice. It is just get your butt out and go do it now. Yes.
And not only the TSP form, there are a total of 4 forms any employee should have filled out for beneficiaries for their federal program. Yes. So if you don't know what those are, then please reach out to us. We'll send you those directly. If you want to reach out to a financial advisor who's going to help you fill out those forms, then, do that as well. If you don't have a financial advisor who understands what those forms are, let us know, and we can not only get you the beneficiary forms, but also a report about your benefits. Yep. And I know the people in our team, or in our network, they are so great. A lot of them already have those forms for you.
Right. You were just talking to one this morning, weren't you? Yeah. Yeah.
Because they're leading with that service. They want to make sure that you guys are in control of your financial situation and your benefits, period. Whether you choose to do service with them or not, or continued planning, they're making sure that they are going to help you get what you need to for the betterment of you and your future, and your family's future. So make sure that you have those forms filled out. I know that TSP says there's a standard order of precedence, but there are different rules in different states as to reasons why we want those beneficiary forms filled out prior to you passing away or having to need the beneficiary form.
Yeah, and I'll also say they have to be filled out correctly too. Mm-hmm. There are certain things certain considerations and things you want. You don't just want to fill them out. You need to fill them out correctly, given certain family situations, et cetera, et cetera. So, oh boy. Okay, we are way over time.
We're out of time.
Really, the beneficiary forms are worth it for us to go over time and to say you need to fill out those forms. And if you haven't looked at those forms for 30 years, go look at them again and possibly just refill them out again. It is that important. It really is.
Okay, I know we're over time, but I was talking to an advisor this just before we had the show, and he was telling me that he had a federal employee couple, or no, I'm sorry, not a federal employee couple, but a federal employee and their spouse in his office, and she did not understand, and he didn't realize either, that his beneficiary was not named on his TSP, and she was about to lose it. Because how dare he not put her as a beneficiary to his TSP, right?
He just hadn't looked at it for years, right?
He didn't know that he didn't have one listed, period.
And
then I was like, well, you know what's worse is I've had a situation where the former spouse was listed as the beneficiary and the current spouse was in there, and they were like, what do you mean that person's on there?
Yeah, exactly. I've seen that too.
Or maybe they don't get along with their mother-in-law, and you put your mom in when you first hired in as a federal employee, and oh boy, you're going to have to answer.
That happens all the time.
Yeah. You've got to have these forms up to date. So if you haven't even looked at it in 5 or 10 years, maybe that's something that you want to revisit depending on your situation.
So yeah, that important that we went that much over time. It is that important. Okay. We'll give everyone a break now. Right. Thank you, Cassie. Yeah, thanks for watching, everyone. Bye. Take care. We'll see you next time.
To get Cassie's comprehensive report on your federal retirement benefits at no cost, no obligation, and no sales pitch, go to Fednobabble.com. While you're there, submit a question for them to answer on the show.